Sometimes it's an expensive cup of coffee. Makes Starbucks look cheap. Young and the reckless. That's what they call me.
Casino trip, full of chips. Wanna flip, double it.
Welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you'll never lose, where the stakes are high, the takes are bold, and the conversations are always full of chips. With your hosts, Chris, the Dice Degen, and Craig from Old Bay Craps. You're tuned in to Full of Chips, the podcast where we dive into our own experiences into the world of gambling and share stories straight from the casino floor. Whether you're a recreational gambler, a seasoned pro, or just curious what the buzz is all about, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the games, talk to the experts, and bring you tips that could tilt the odds in your favor. So grab your lucky charm, stack your chips, and let's roll into today's episode.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 28 of the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you never lose, with your hosts, Chris, the Dice Degen, and Craig from Old Bay Craps. Craig, how are we tonight?
We're a little perturbed, but we're going to keep it low key.
Perturbed. Look at you. Look at you.
Perturbed.
Wow. Who would have
Yeah.
thought? You know, people listen to this for gambling advice, and they're just getting like a word of the day from Craig.
I've got Mini Fox ready to go, but we have a more important thing to talk about tonight. So,
Oh, yes. We have many important things to talk about. We'll get to that specific important thing soon enough. You know what an important thing is? Planning, right? We talk about our planning for the
you got to
casino and all
plan.
that
You
kind
got
of
to
stuff.
plan.
In the Full of Chips podcast, Craig and I are always planning and planning for episode 30. For the folks at home who know, every fifth episode is a guest. Banger of a guest lined up for episode 30.
Banger.
All right. You got to stay tuned for episode 30 because there is a special guest on. All right. I can't say who it is. You'll have to watch episode 30. But let's just say it's going to be a great appearance.
Hell yeah. One for
Hell
the
yeah.
books.
Definitely one for the books. I'm looking forward to that one. Have a good time talking to this fine individual. See, I won't even give you if it's a male or female. That's how incognito we're gonna be about it.
And all you need to worry about is that Chris is talking to this fine guy right here.
Yes, we are. Always talking to the fine gentleman next to me. And Craig, what are you drinking tonight on this fine evening?
I am drinking a fine drink. We skipped the Bullet and we went back to the Crown and went back to Crown and Coke because it's just so
There you go.
fucking delicious.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I went with the tried but true 4 Roses and Diet. So,
And of course,
great drinks.
H2O.
Of course.
Which
Can't-
here's
you
your
can't-
little
you can't-
mini fuck. Why do you fill it to the fucking rim? Because every time I go to open it, half of it goes down my hand and onto my shirt. So fuck you, water bottle fillers. There you go. There's your mini fuck.
There's your mini Fock for the episode. That's the main reason Craig is perturbed, because he went to open his water bottle in the green room and it was like a geyser just coming out of it. All over him, all over everything. But yeah, it's good times. I was telling Craig, in case anybody's wondering, for the folks at home, this is just straight out of Degen's mind. This may be factual. It may be totally not correct, which if it is, I'm a genius. And if it's not correct, well, I took a great guess at it, just like those meteorologists do. But I was saying, it's for the recycling folks, the less plastic, yada, yada, yada bullshit that they go on. So that's why the water's filled to the top, if you ask Degen. And if you want to be correct, that's what your mindset should be. If you think there's some other reason for it, you're probably wrong.
And if you don't give a shit, don't give a shit.
Exactly. Which is probably most folks don't give a shit. But Craig, you know what we do give a shit about? Football season.
Fuck yeah.
The Super Bowl is, so when this episode airs, it'll be the Monday after the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl is happening this weekend. Are we excited for said Super Bowl?
We are excited. We said in another episode that since my Ravens weren't even in the playoffs, that we would back an East Coast, West Coast connection, my daughter's boyfriend and Mr. Ian Olson of our Seattle folk. And I would go with and root for the Seahawks. And I'm all set. I'm prepared.
There you go. You're prepared. You're prepared. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a good game. Lots of bets, of course. Hopefully winning those bets. I will also be on the Seattle side. Be wearing my little Seattle T-shirt. Because I know Ian sent you a jersey. DJen has a T-shirt. That I had to buy because I lost a bet to Ian, so I had to buy myself a Seattle T-shirt. But it's okay. I'll be wearing it on Sunday. But yeah, looking forward to the game. But the NFL's been screwing around recently, Craig, and
Yeah.
I think I think they deserve the infamous FOC FOS award. What do you
Oh,
think?
you know what? It's been a while since we've had an FOC FOS award, and we could already talk about NFL scheduling and where games can be watched, and we've already kind of gone into that. So I don't think it's about that. What else? What else has
No.
happened recently that maybe this award is warranted?
So for the folks at home, all right, this one hurts me a little bit, just a little bit, right? But out of respect for the damn game, why NFL and NFL Hall of Fame voters is Bill Belichick not a first ballot Hall of Famer? You Hall of Fame voters deserve the FOC FOS award because you guys are morons. Morons.
Yeah.
I get the deflate gate, the spy gate, all that shit. Fine, whatever. If you want to blame him for that, blame him for it. He probably knew about it if he hasn't admitted that he knew about it, whatever. The guy's won a lot of Super Bowls. He won what, 8, I think? Something like that. I don't know. I'd have to fact check that one.
I know all the numbers. What number do you need? I got it.
How many Super Bowls has Bill Belichick won?
6. He's
6.
he's appeared in 9.
There you go. All right.
He's
Won
won 31
6.
playoff games.
Yeah. And he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, like, and listen, again, like I said in the beginning, it pains me slightly because obviously we all know Eagles fan, right? And I'm not the biggest Patriots fan, not a Tom Brady fan, not a Bill Belichick fan. However, I respect both of them for their accomplishments and what they've done. And this week now we have Robert Kraft not getting in there, whatever. I don't think owners should really be in the Hall of Fame anyway, because that's just stupid to me. Like, you own the team. You just have money. Congratulations. Like, you're not involved in a lot of decisions. So like, you get in the Hall of Fame for having money. Cool. Let's put like Bill Gates in the NFL Hall of Fame because he's got money. But are we setting up like a Tom Brady not being a first ballot Hall of Famer? Because if that's the case, in my opinion, and my opinion's already pretty solidified on this point from Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, but like if we're going to set up Tom Brady potentially not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, like the Hall of Fame is a joke. Like, who gives a shit? No one's going to go to Canton. Nobody wants to see your stupid yellow jacket. First of all, that color's hideous anyway. But like, your jacket means nothing. Like, I'd be disgraced to be in the NFL Hall of Fame if a Tom Brady's not a first ballot shoe-in Hall of Famer.
I think one of the things that really irks is that, and we talked about this on our top 5 athletes when we recorded in Atlantic City. We talked about Tom Brady was on the list, right? And
Yep.
all due respect to everybody, because we said we respect him. We don't like the team personally, neither of us. But we said during that show that players took less money to stay with the team because they knew they'd probably have another shot at a Super Bowl. I don't know many teams that would take money away from their paychecks to stay with a team, especially not today. But they did that. They won their 6. They went to 9. And I'm sorry, but as great as Tom Brady is and the fact that he's won 7, he wasn't the reason they won a few of those. I know for damn sure Adam Vinatieri kicked a few of those wins in, and their defense had a lot to do with it as well. So to me, when you have all aspects of your teams winning Super Bowls, how does that not fall on the coach? I'm not quite sure, Chris. I'm not quite sure how that works.
Me either. But all I know is the Hall of Fame is this is a black mark on the Hall of Fame. They're being quite stupid, in my opinion. I know, like, baseball's done it with, the some of the steroids and stuff and gambling and other shit like that. But like, if you take steroids in baseball, that directly affects how well you're hitting the ball. That's a different story than like one game you may have done something. And I'm not justifying the cheating. All right, I'm not doing that. But how many other teams have done it? Like, come on. Like, Bill Belichick was not the first one to come up with Spygate over here. Like, he's a smart dude, but he's not that smart. Like, people have been recording practice for a long ass time. He's not the first one. He just happened to get caught.
I'll bring up two things. One, shout out Terrell Suggs. He was one of the finalists. And two, I'm sorry, Rodney Harrison played for the Patriots. Yes. Rodney Harrison is a Hall of Famer. Yes. Rodney Harrison is one of the most dirtiest players I've ever seen play the game. And I guess you're not accounting for dirty players. You're just accounting for whatever you hear in the media with Spygate, Deflategate, all that crap. And obviously they didn't find anything. And say what you want, but he's a pretty damn good coach. What'd you say, Chris?
100%. 100%. And congrats to the Hall of Fame for winning the FOC FOS Award. You guys fully deserve that one. I'll ship the trophy to Canton. You can put it in your damn display case, and maybe I'll come visit just so I can see our trophy sitting in your display case.
Put it in the same room as all the busts.
There you go. I think they're just jealous, Craig. You know why they're jealous? Because all they did was win. And you know what? Sometimes in the casino, it seems like people always win.
It does seem like people always win. What is up with that?
I don't understand it. Like, some people just, they never lose. At least they claim to never lose, right?
That's true.
And you and I both know it's not the case, right? People are losing, but some people think and like to portray that they're always winning. And there's, a handful of YouTube people. I'm not even going to call them content creators because the shit they put out is actual shit. But they claim to never, ever, ever lose.
It's interesting you brought that one up. It's interesting you brought that one up because that was my first thing that I was going to bring up as well. It has to do with a selective memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
People remember those wins, but they forget the losses. So a player who brags about last night's heater fails to mention the 5 PSOs that were on the table or the fact that it was a cold table until the heater, which probably only brought them back to even, right? Or a little bit of profit. But they want to brag about a 30 roller. Like, come on.
Yeah. I always enjoy too, like, when people, and I think it has to do with, like, survivorship bias and other stuff like that. But, let's say you go to the casino for a weekend, okay, and you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday night, say you lost $1,000, whatever. Saturday night, say you lost $3,000, okay? Sunday, you win $4,000. And all you hear about for that trip is how great the tables were on Sunday. On $4,000, they failed to mention that they were down $4,000 going into Sunday. And like you said, they got back to even. Again, kudos, because even is a win. But you only hear about Sunday. You never hear about Friday and Saturday. Because Friday and Saturday never happened in their heads, right? Sunday's the only day it happened.
Now, we've heard stories of people winning 4,000, but did you win 4,000 out of like $1,000 bankroll? Or did you win 4,000 out of a $5,000 bankroll and you never really broke even, but you happened to have won 4,000 in that session, but you were already down 4,500? Like, what's the real story? And those kind of people seem like they always win, Chris.
Yeah.
There are some people that always seem to win, but it's not what we're bitching about at the moment. Some people that seem to win a lot are people that know when to quit. They know the right time to walk away. They're disciplined. Disciplined players know when to stop when they're ahead. Those gamblers like us, we're gamblers too. Keep playing until the house edge grinds us down. And and then we have to go home with our tail between our legs. But we always think those people just always win. Like, I don't know how they do it. They just, how does that person always win? Because they know when to quit. They quit when they're ahead. They've met their goal. They had a plan, and they're disciplined enough to stick to the plan regardless of what happens at the table.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And they have good bankroll management to go along with the discipline and knowing when to leave, right? All of that kind of feeds into one thing. And, sometimes, right? Like sometimes it's just a matter of bankroll, that they have a large enough bankroll to withstand maybe some bad hands of blackjack, some bad rolls at the craps table, and their bankroll can bail them out, right? There's quite a few people that, we've spoken to, not on the podcast, but in the past, who have very large bankrolls, right? And that allows them to weather the bad and take advantage of the good. And, sometimes you'll see people who are, claiming to always win, right? I'm always winning. I'm always winning. And then you go to find out, well, they buy into a table for $10,000 with a goal to win 100. Like, okay, I can understand why you're winning so much, because you bought in for 10 G's and you're trying to win $100.
That'd be like $100 trying to win 10.
It's 100 trying to win one.
Well, that's true. 100 trying to win one. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, 100 trying to win one. So it's like, I think might be actually, yeah, it's 100 trying to win one. Yeah,
your girl mathed it right there. Stop.
A girl mathed it. Yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm like, am I wrong on that? Yeah, it's 100 to win one. Yeah, no, I'm over mathing in my head right now. Great.
Oh,
great. Over mathing.
You're right. You made a good point,
but,
though. You made a good point, because a deep bankroll, lets you survive swings that naturally would just kill us casual players.
Yeah.
Survival just happens to look like luck, but it's not. It's that the person had a deep bankroll, bought in for 5,000.
Which, if that's how you're gonna play and you're gonna claim you're always gonna win, sure. I'd still like to see it happen. Like, I'd still like to see you go to a casino every single day and buy in for 10 G's and try to win 100, because I am confident, very, very confident, that there will be one day where you just get smacked around all day long. But then again, it's like, what are your bets? Right? Like, somebody who's trying to do that's probably betting relatively smart, right? Yeah. Like, they don't go with 10 G's, throw 100 in the field and one hit and they're out. And then they start martingaling from there. Like, that's not what they're doing. And if they are, I can guarantee you that they don't have all winning sessions, because that martingale gets up very, very quick. And other thing that you failed to mention, people who buy in for that much money and claim to always win, your table limits probably limit the amount of money you can actually bet on that, unless you're playing at your own limits, which is hard to come by sometimes.
And I think they also are playing low volatility games, right? Those players sometimes, like you said, buy in high, but they're just playing pass line and odds in a couple of boxes. Like, they're not going crazy. They're not hop betting. They're not playing the prop bets probably. If they're playing other games like Baccarat, they're playing always banker. They're full play video poker. They're just those games produce steadier sessions, and that's the thing.
Yep.
But it looks like consistent winning.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what it is. I think that's the main thing, right? It looks like consistent winning, right? It's basically an illusion to everybody who's partaking in the viewership of what they are seeing, right? Where, again, like I use the example of, we go for a weekend. Well, I won for the weekend. Yeah, but I had many losing sessions for that weekend. But end of the weekend, I was still positive. So that person is going to look at it from the perspective, well, I won for the trip. But if you start detailing out session by session, no, you got smoked in sessions 1, 2, 4, and 5. But no, we just want to focus on the weekend, which, again, you win for the weekend, good for you, right? I'm not saying it's a problem. Just don't sugarcoat the fact that you always win by saying you won for the weekend, and not acknowledge the fact that you lost multiple sessions during that weekend.
But also, even if they don't have like high buy-ins, they play smart. So they're better than 90% of the casino floor by taking advantage of hot streaks and knowing when to pull the reins on the cold streaks. I talked about the private table that we did at Craps for the Cure at Palace Station, and why, I don't know, but we sat through 4 PSOs. Like you've already said, Chris, why would you let somebody burn you twice? So once 2 PSOs happened, I should have changed the way I'm betting. That would have kept me, I could have gone low, I could have gone soft into and just played 6 and 8 or a 4 and 10, because they pay better, but I didn't. You did the same thing, and PSO. So they understand streaks, people that seem to win all the time. Um, they just know what to do, how to do it. They're disciplined about it, and they know when to walk away. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. You know, besides I guess one other thing would be they control their emotions.
Yeah. Oh
Plenty
yeah.
of people who don't control their emotions are the ones who lose their bankroll or bleed out within an hour or less.
Yeah, the people who are winning consistently, right? Like you said, they're losing less when they do lose. They leave when they're supposed to leave. They're playing smart, right? They have good bankroll management, good discipline. And obviously, luck plays some role into that, right? They might be on the table at the right time. Maybe
Yeah.
they brought upon their own luck where, they had a good role in the craps table. They're making good betting decisions on Baccarat, Blackjack, whatever they were playing. But timing has a lot to do with it, too, where, like you mentioned, the four PSOs. Well, imagine, you weren't playing for those four PSOs and you started playing after that. Or, you get in on a table where there's consistent short rolls and then you happen to buy in and boom, the table turns and everybody else at the table is barely even. Now you're up a bunch, but you weren't there for the bad part of it.
No, you're right. And, when we were on that private table, just as an example, we went through those four PSOs. It was still two more shooters that we had to get through who had better rolls than we did. But then it got to Jeff, and Jeff had that 36 roller, I think. So it's like made the money back, but then time is your enemy. And people who always seem to win, Jeff's one of them. After Jeff's 36 roller, what did Jeff do? He colored up and got the fuck out. And what did OBC do? He lost another 300. Like, it's not, and
But
it's
that's
not
the
just about
thing.
the emotions too. It's like the people that always seem to win, they never chase. They don't chase
Nope.
losses. We tell you all not to chase losses, but they don't chase losses. They're in control, I would say. Which is why it appears they always win. Probably Lou as an example seems like a person who always wins, but we know he doesn't because
Yep.
he's just a low volatility player.
Yeah. And Lou says when he loses too. Like
Right.
it's not like he's sitting here, oh, I won, even though I didn't. Like Lou will tell you when he lost.
Yeah.
But like you said, right? Like they know when to walk away, right? They're selective on who they're betting on. They're making low volatility plays, never chasing, right? They're using flat betting or unit betting, which we'll get into a little bit later here. But I mean, you just see the last episode practically, right? The whole thing of flat betting and not chasing losses, like that directly correlates to somebody who's going to quote unquote always win, right? Because they're not going to be chasing. They're probably not playing some fancy system, right? Because we tell you all the time, all these systems have holes. Every system has a hole in it. And if you play it enough, you will find the holes. This is why we tell you practice before you go to the casino and don't practice at the casino, right? I mean, Craig and I have put out many videos on crap strategies and other stuff, right? If you want to go see them, you go to either one of our channels and go look at them. I have rolled all of them out many times to the point where I have shown the holes. I've found the holes. You come up with some strategy, right? I'm not saying it's some new thing because crap's been around for a long time, right? Let's say you come up with some thought process that you think, oh, this is going to be really good. And you try it once at home and it works flawlessly. Okay. You think, this is great. Take it to the casino. I'm going to win. Guaranteed. Take it to the casino. You fall flat on your face. Why? You didn't try it out enough at home, right? All these strategies have holes. Okay. If you think they don't have a hole, you're lying to yourself or the person who's hopefully they're not selling you this strategy. Hopefully they're just showing it to you. Because if they're selling it, if you're paying for somebody to show you this shit, you're out of your mind. Because it's probably on YouTube already.
And then you make a good point, and you made a point earlier about the we're about to get into unit betting, but the flat better. And there are people who play a certain way all the time. They never change. That what they know is that something we learned with the Blackjack brief with Bruce, which is they're expecting that they're going to lose partial or lose a portion of their bankroll, but they know they're going to win a portion of their bankroll too. And it's not necessarily a system. It's not necessarily a strategy. They play a certain way. Let's say they just play box numbers, but they play box numbers that are hitting. We've talked a little bit before about bet what's hitting. So these people are betting what's hitting, but they know from time to time it's not going to work out. But when it is working out, they know how to take advantage of it. And I think it's a nice transition into the unit betting we're about to talk to, which is what, a little bit of what Bruce had talked to everybody about with the Blackjack brief, which is unit betting, knowing your expectations, knowing I'm expected to win this many hands or shoots. I'm expected to win this many rolls. I'm expected to lose this many rolls. And if you're talking about craps, you're expected to lose about 3 to 4 shooters out of a whole table and win about 2 to 3 shooters per going around the table. So if you have that expectation, unit betting might be the better way to go.
Yep. I would 100% agree. And that's Bruce, a really good example here, right? Because his whole system is founded upon units, right? He said it in the Blackjack brief, 10 bets at 1 unit, 10 bets at 2 units, 10 bets back down at 1 unit, 10 bets at 2 units. And again, you don't have to play all 40 hands. This is specific for Blackjack, but you can adapt it to other games, right? And you don't have to play the whole system out, right? If you win, same thing with craps, right? Let's say you're playing just a pass line, right? And your goal is to win 4 units. Somebody hits 4 winners on the pass line and they don't hit a loser, you won your 4 units. And the smart player and the player who is most of the time winning is going to get up and leave at that point. Yes, the roll's still going on, right? Or yes, the shoe is still going on in Blackjack if you win 4 straight hands. But the discipline in you and the bankroll management is telling you, I won the 4 units I was supposed to win. That's what I came here to do. So now it's time to leave, right? Yeah. The people who are going to sit there for an extended period of time, yes, you may win more. Likely you're probably going to give some of it back, if not most of it back, if not all of it back, right? Plus, maybe more of your buy-in back. I mean, how many times have we seen, even on Blackjack, right? A couple good hands right to start, and then the shoe goes to shit, and next thing you know, you're digging yourself out of a hole. There was no need to dig yourself out of that hole if you would have just left when you hit your goal. Different story if you don't hit your goal. But if you hit your goal, you have to be disciplined enough to know to leave, or at least get up and walk away.
Same with not hitting your goal. If let's say I go every weekend with $500 to the craps table, and I play the same thing. So by playing the same thing, I have to already have that expectation that A, as soon as I walk through the doors, I'm at a disadvantage. But B, I'm going to lose some of this and I'm going to win some of this. Like I'm going to lose some weekends, I'm going to win some weekends. And so you go with your 500, you play the way you play, you start noticing that it's not going your way. That's when you stop, walk away, the disciplined player colors up, and then you come back the next weekend and you do the same thing. Maybe next weekend, hey, this is kind of working today. All right. Is it kind of working a little bit, or is it kind of working a lot? And if it's kind of working a lot, well, maybe you need to take advantage of it. Be aggressive. But I think one of the most significant things about unit betting is you have to take the dollar amount value away from it. You can't think of it as going from 25 to 50 to 75. You have to think about it as $25 is 1 unit. Okay, things are going pretty good. If I win 4 units, I'm going to press 2 units. And if I really want to be aggressive because somebody's nailing the sixes, they've thrown their 8th 6, I should be on this. Okay, that tells you maybe you should go to 5 units if you really want to be aggressive. We're not saying you should be aggressive. Just if you know that and you know that you're playing with units instead of value. And the only way to do that is to know your bankroll, know your buy-in, and have a plan with what are you considering your units for that buy-in. Your units for $300 may be totally different, Chris, than your units for $1,000 buy-in. Your $1,000 buy-in, your units may be $25 a unit. $300 buy-in, $10 a unit might be your unit. So then you have to play that way. You have to, and we've said you have to have a plan, and this is a good thing to start getting into a practicing at home, practicing unit betting. Um, I don't, Chris, you probably could talk about it more with sports betting because that is how you do it. You do it by units. There's nothing you
Yep.
do in sports betting that's based on dollar value.
Nope. No, and you made a super important point that like folks at home you need to understand with the units is you have to get out of the monetary mindset, the value mindset of that, and you have to detach that and just focus on units, right? And sports betting is a very good example, right? Where the dollar amount is not even anything, right? It's units that you're betting. And why? Because when you are going to, sports bet or do anything for a extended period of time and you want to be good at it for the most part, right? You have to be able, one, to remove the emotion, remove the ego from that kind of stuff. And two, you don't really want to think about dollar amounts, right? Like when I'm sports betting, the money amount that's being placed is not just some random number that I pull out of my ass that I'm betting on this game. No, it's a unit based play that I know. Like if you go through my sportsbook history, right? Every single bet that's in there is divisible by one of my units, right? So if I bet on a 1, 2, 3 unit scale, 1 unit being X, 2 unit being Y, 3 unit being Z, there are some other, we've talked about the lottery parlays and other stuff that I'll place occasionally, whatever it may be. Those are maybe half a unit or a quarter of a unit, right? But it's still within that unit system. And one, it makes tracking super easy, right? When you know how many units you're betting and how many units you have, it's very easy to see how many units you're up or down, right? Like take, for example, $1,000 on a blackjack table, right? If you're going to use green chips, right? Let's say your unit's $25, okay? You're going to have 40 green chips in front of you, right? You could put those in stacks, 4 stacks of 10. Very, very easy to see. Do I have 4 stacks of 10? Yes or no, right? If I have more than 4 stacks of 10, I know I'm up. All you got to do is count how many green chips you have. That's how many units you're up, right? If you're down because you don't have 4 complete stacks of 10, then you can easily see exactly how far you're down. Units are really the way that most people should be betting, and smart bettors will adopt the unit mindset. I think it's great in sports betting, great in blackjack, baccarat. Craps is a little tough because of bets like the 6 and 8, right? But if you're playing at the quarter level, yes, I know there's an additional $5 on the 6 and 8, but you can change your units to be $30 or
Right.
round numbers make it easy, right? Like $18 on the 6 and 8 makes it a little bit hard because then you have to be decent at math to figure out, all right, I got, this much money in front of me, I can divide it by 18, blah, 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 blah. But like if you're using quarters, it's super, super simple. You're using $10, super, super simple, right? Same example that Craig gave, if you're using $300 on a blackjack table at $10 units, okay? Stack those red chips up, right? Make the same stacks. You know where your $300 is, then you can easily tell, am I up? Am I down? Where am I?
I think what's interesting is that some people probably don't even know that they are partially doing this already. For those that use like spacers and they have their like $500-600 out in green chips, and it's 4 green chips and then a spacer, 4 green chips then a spacer. Start thinking of them as units, because you know that once you get those units and you get that stack back together, anything excess is profit. You should know when you're up and when you're down. It makes it a lot easier to know if you're up or down when you're working with units. And if you have a plan, so if you say I'm going in with a $500 bankroll and I'm looking to win $100, all right, so you have your stack of green broken down with spacers, 4 greens per 100, 500, you know that if you get 4 more units, 4 more green chips, you've met your goal, and now it's time to walk. But people don't think that way. I was thinking of your 6 and 8 example earlier, and I'm like, can you imagine if somebody had 18, 36, 54, 72?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like
nah,
that'd be a lot of work. And
that would be
like
a lot of
I
work.
can understand it. I can understand it from that perspective. Like I totally get that like $18 is a weird number and it's tough. That's why I went to 30 because it's a little bit simpler. It's still not easy though, right? Because you have two different color chips in there. It's not as easy, but like if you can deal in like $10 units or quarter units, it makes it a lot easier to quickly see where you are, right? If you're good at the bankroll management piece of things, then $18 isn't that hard. You can, break it up and you can do it. But it's easier with round numbers to figure out your unit betting.
Especially over on a $25 table, like you said, $30. That makes it easy to do. You could do your front rack could be your 4, 5, 9, 10, and your back rack could be your 6 and 8, just broken up differently. You could have units of 25 up front, units of 30 in the back. Again, you can still know if you're up or if you're down because they're units. So if you have your stacks of 25 up front and you have each one as a unit and you're playing the 4, 5, 9, 10, and then on the back, you've got your 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. Okay. You know that you have five chances, 5 units for the 6 and 8. That's really good point. But you have to practice saying to yourself, okay, when I'm up 4 units, if I'm up by 4 units, then I'm going to go ahead and press my base 2 units. It makes it much easier to do. It makes it much easier on the dealer because you're not dropping, obviously a dealer's going to know you say drop 3 on a 6 and 8, 18 each. They know they're going to go 42 because you won 21, add the 3, now you're at 42. But it is a lot better. Again, dealers will catch on to if you're doing units at the table. That's part of the dealer's job, is to adapt to the shooter or the player and kind of anticipate, because then they'll help you out in a way of, hey, you went up 2 units last time. Do you want to go up 2 units again? It just makes it a little bit easier to play the game. I think it also protects you from being over aggressive.
Oh, it definitely does. Yep, it definitely does. And like you mentioned the units at the craps table, right? Like you'll hear people say up a unit when a number hits, right? And the dealers know what unit you're going up by how you're betting.
Yep.
Right? If you're betting in $5 increments, or if you're betting like $18 on the 6 and 8, or $15 on the 5 and 9, or 4 and 10, whatever it is, and you say up a unit, they're going to assume that you're talking $5 increments, $6 on the 6 and 8, right? Even if you're playing at the quarter level, they're probably going to ask you, do you mean $5 or are you talking about a quarter? Once you tell them once, typically, then you keep saying up a unit and they already know what the unit is.
It's only because there's so many there's so much different terminology per game. In craps, when you want to double it, you're really going to say full press. You're not going to say full unit. That just sounds weird.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But
like, give me 18 more. Like 18 of what?
But again, it keeps you, playing in units keeps you from being aggressive. It keeps you from throwing down and doing a ridiculous $300 bet on something when you have no business doing a $300 bet anyway. But even if you had the bankroll to do it, why are you suddenly shooting up $300 bet, on your bet? If you went in units, like even if you had the bankroll to go 150 on the 6 and 8 and 150 was your unit, like you have to know where you're going, where you came from, and what was your base. If you lose your base throughout the whole thing, you're fucked. But you have to have a plan of, this is my base for a $10 table. This is my base for a $15 table. This is my base for a quarter table. Obviously, Chris and I have been at $15 tables and we've played them at quarter tables. But again, if we're thinking about them as quarter units, it does make it easier to play.
I mean, and see, that's the thing with the unit betting, right? Like once you understand your units, it really helps you, one, with speed of betting, right? It doesn't take you that long because you know what your next move is already, right? You just know up a unit, down a unit, whatever it may be, or you're just flat betting and you just keep the unit going, right? Like if you're playing, like you said, Bruce's way playing blackjack, right? You know the first 10 hands you're playing at 1 unit. So you win the hand, the money you win, you take, you put behind, right? And you go up to 2 units. If you play some sort of progressive blackjack system, right, and you're going 1 unit, 2 units, just all right, 2 units. And then if you win at 2 units, then you know your next move. Is it 3 units? Is it 4 units? Is it back down to 1? Like, what are you doing? And then it also helps you too if you do play some sort of progressive system that you go back to base on when you lose, you know exactly what that bet is, where you're going, and boom, it's there. It's like a mindless. It helps you just be efficient at the tables.
It makes it a lot easier to track wins and losses.
Mm-hmm.
Because of aggressive players often lose track of where they stand, but units fix that instantly. Like you know how you want to be aggressive. If you're aggressive and it hits, you're also regressing by units. So,
Yep.
instead of thinking, again, taking the dollar value out of it, instead of thinking, I think I'm up 120. No, you know you're up 5 units. Like that's how you have to think about it. But this helps you. This helps you know when to press and when to pull back and when to walk. You have to know when to walk.
Yep.
You're no longer reacting to the table. You're very systematic about it. We talked with Bruce about being systematic with the way he bets. Same thing can be applied to really any game you play. I think probably the easiest game, Chris, that makes it units is probably roulette.
Yeah. Or blackjack. Blackjack's super easy with units too. The only thing with blackjack is doubles and splits and stuff if you're doing that. But yeah, roulette, roulette, especially if you're playing like on the outsides, colors, even odds, columns, whatever. I mean, units are super easy with that. With numbers, it's different because the payouts are different. But if you're playing like any, 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 type bet that you're using units, it's super, super simple to track, like you said, and just place the bets for that matter.
But the thing you just said about blackjack, if you're splitting or double down, you're doing it by units.
Yep.
So it makes it easy to keep track of. And Chris and I have talked about, like with blackjack, how you have your stacks right next to you, and you kind of know just by size, I'm up and down, I'm up or down. Okay, it looks like I'm really up. Let me just verify with the chips. You're like, yep, I'm out of here. I'm over my goal. So it's time to color up. Don't just stay there just because you're on that. You maybe had a hot streak. Like hot streaks end. And when they end, shit gets cold real quick.
It's funny because I know in like earlier episodes, right, we talked about, how I set up my chips when I play blackjack. News flash alert for people at home. What we just talked about, that's exactly what I do when I'm playing blackjack, right? How I play is all unit based, right? If I'm playing a quarter table, quarter units. Okay, that's what it is. But it's exactly those stacks. I know exactly how much is in front of me, how much I'm up, how much I'm down by those stacks. And I can tell you basically how many hands I've won or lost within reason, right? Like I won't tell you, oh, I've played 37 hands and I've won this, I've lost that. I can just tell you, no, I've won one more hand than I've lost. I've won 4 more hands than I've lost, right? But it does help me to know when I've hit my goal and when it's time to walk away, because I'll have those stacked off to the side and it's like, boom, hit the goal, table, see ya.
I can tell you that Chris and I do not do this. We do not go to the blackjack table at a $15 minimum table and our flat bet is 15. We don't then, if we win the hand, we don't then go from 15 to 50. Like that would be weird. We might go to 30. That's another unit. We might go to 45. That's 2 units. But we're not going to change the way it is to take it away from being a unit. And I think if you're playing that way, playing by using unit betting, I think you're probably going to come out on top a lot more often than you are currently because it holds you accountable and it keeps you from aggressively just going whack. Like,
Well, let's be honest, right? The casinos, they love to see people who don't bet in units. Why? Well, your bets are going to vary widely and randomly, right? Like Craig said, you go 15 to 50, like casino loves to see that because they know you're just haphazardly throwing money out there, right? That's also going to make you likely chase losses, right? Because you win that $15 hand, you go up to the $50 hand, you lose the 50. What are you doing? You're probably not going back down to 15. right? If you're throwing chips out there willy-nilly like that, you're probably not going back to 15. You're probably going to do something else, right? And why? Because you're overreacting, right? You're going to overreact to a win. You're going to overreact to a loss. Reacting to wins is just as bad, right? It's the same again. Oh, I won. I'm going to go 15 to 50, right? Just as bad as losing the 50 and saying, oh, you know what? I'm going to go to 200 to recoup plus maybe a little bit. No, like casinos love that. Unit betting, the casinos think it's boring. Why? You're predictable. They know what you're going to do,
Yeah.
right? They know, oh, 1 unit, 2 units, right? You're not going to bleed though. Or if you do bleed, you're going to bleed a lot slower and you're going to know when it's time to walk away, right? The casino can instantly see this is a disciplined player. They're going to know when to walk away, whether they're winning or losing, right? You hit your stop loss goal, it's the same thing. You know when to walk away. But if you're playing without units and you're just jumping around on bet sizing, casinos love you.
But if you happen to do a big unit bet, you have to yell out, Randy Johnson. Good topics. Good topics.
Great topics. Great topics. Is it time for one of our favorite topics, Craig?
It's time for the top 5.
The top 5. And our top 5 today is the top 5 reasons you need a get right game.
Definitely.
Craig, do you have a get right game before we go into this?
Well, we know that it's developing into blackjack as probably the get right game. And so if the craps table's not happening, I will go to the blackjack table as a get right game. And that kind of goes in with my number 5.
There you go.
My number 5, it stops the spiral before it starts. So when frustration kicks in, which it often does at the craps table, players make bad decisions like we all have. A get-right game is your emergency break, playing simple, steady, and familiar that keeps you from chasing, tilting, or firing off nonsense bets.
I like it. I like it. Little bit of overlap. I'm not going to say total, but a little bit. My number 5 is momentum is psychological, not mathematical. So what that means is momentum doesn't exist in cards, dice, whatever it may be. It's in your head. Okay. So going to a get right game can reset your emotions, right? If you were getting tilted in another game or you just weren't in the right headspace, it can get you back into a good headspace. Hopefully you don't continue losing there. That's the whole point of get right. Obviously it's still a casino, so you're disadvantaged anyway. You could probably lose, but hopefully it'll help you get right. And it breaks that losing streak, right? How many times we've been on a craps table in the morning, which is just miserable.
Coffee runs.
At least on a blackjack table, when we go over there, like we may not be having a great session, but at least you see some wins, right? There's been crap sessions where we haven't seen a freaking payment the entire time we're standing there. But at least on blackjack, you see some payments coming back to you.
The only thing good about a coffee run is the coffee.
There you go. Sometimes an expensive cup of coffee makes Starbucks look cheap.
Right.
All right, Craig, number 4.
Number 4. So this kind of overlaps a little bit with yours. I guess this whole list is going to overlap with each other, but so now my number 4 is it rebuilds confidence without risking the bankroll. So you don't need a miracle. You need a win you can trust. A get right game gives you small, controlled victories that reset your mindset and get your rhythm back.
You just want to go to number 3? Because if you just skip my number 4, it's the same. Literally the same thing. Number 4 is you restore your confidence because it needs to be re-earned. Going to your get right game can give you small wins to get you back into the winning mindset, gets your rhythm back on track and your patience. You're not proving anything to the casino, but maybe you're proving something to yourself. There you go. I mean, I was just skip mine and just went right to your number 3.
All right, number 3. It simplifies the table when your brain's overheating. We've all been at the craps table when your brain just can't handle what the fuck is happening. So after a bad run or a bad beat in blackjack, well, not blackjack, but bad beat in craps or sports betting, I'll use that. Everything feels complicated, right? Your get right game is the opposite. Low volatility, low decisions, low stress. It clears the mental fog so you can think again, which is what we need.
There you go. My number 3 is it helps you restore your discipline and decision making. Again, talking about decisions, but it helps you to stop chasing the losses, right? Maybe stop chasing some of those high house edge bets, the side action, the whatever, those hopeful bets instead of the math, right? You typically on your get right game, you're going to have fewer bets, right? We go to blackjack, there's one bet, right? The rules are easy. You either win the hand or you lose the hand. And it's just repeatable decisions that you can continuously make that help you get back into that proper disciplined decision making.
So it's probably
All
just
right, Craig.
probably just overlapping. But my number 2, it protects you from emotional betting. When you're rattled, you're vulnerable. A get right game forces you back into structure. We've talked about structure before. Fixed units, predictable pace, and no hero moves, which never seem to work out for me anyway. It's the disciplined anchor that keeps you from blowing up.
You go to number 1. My number 2 is your bankroll needs a second, it needs to breathe, and you need to take a break. So going to your get right game, you're going to play lower volatility, right? Hopefully you're using the unit betting, and it's going to help you either lead slowly or win and preserve your units, and maybe take a little bit of time, right? I made the joke on the last episode that, yes, I lost, but it took me an hour and a half to lose instead of 30 minutes. Sometimes that is better than losing so quickly because that can help you tilt a little bit more the quicker you lose. So you're not losing as quickly, which is sometimes good. Basically, downshifting. So you're shifting from one gear to another gear, and you're going to go instead of shifting up a gear, which is going to probably end you up crashing and burning.
Well, I think what's interesting is that, you and I our get right game is blackjack. We've interviewed some other people, Jeff, Lou, whose get right game is blackjack, or not blackjack, poker, excuse me, poker. And you'll even hear from the guys that they might not have won at the poker table, but it gave their brain a rest from the volatility of the craps table. So they just went, because I bet you when they play poker, just like when you and I play blackjack, it's systematic. And when it's systematic, you're not thinking as hard. So you're not as stressed. You're expecting, okay, lost that one, go to the next one. Won that one, cool. I'm going to go up 2 units. Win that one, cool. I'm going to go back down to 1 unit. Lost that, fine. I'm sure they do the same thing in poker. You're right. It's just a moment of calm that you need.
Puts you back in gets you centered.
Yeah.
Gets you back in your Zen state of mind, I guess.
Absolutely. All right. So my number 1 is it reminds you why you're there. You're there to play smart, not wild. A get right game reconnects you with your fundamentals. It's the reset button that says, I'm not here to gamble like a maniac. I'm here to execute.
There you go. All right, Craig, I don't know if this is the first time we've had this many overlapping. I think it might be. I guess you could argue it's a clean sweep of 5 for 5 overlapping, but I don't know. My number 1 is you're tilted and you have no clue. Sometimes when you're playing, right, you're pressing too much, you're forcing bets that you normally wouldn't make. You're going to bets that you typically stay away from, then you start betting them, and you typically have the mindset, well, I'm trying to get even. Usually, like we say, you get even, usually you're getting worse, right? Get even worse. So your get right game is going to slow you down. Your bet size is usually going to shrink, right? For example, craps table, you're playing, I don't know, 66 inside with a $15 unit. On a blackjack table, you're playing $15 units. You got 4 bets blackjack that you would have on 1 bet technically on the craps table. And it brings you back to that structured mindset that helps you to recover and then reset and figure out what you're going to do next.
There you go.
Great top 5.
Top 5.
Great top 5.
That's your top 5, people.
And I mean, I must say, this top 5 must be spot on if we're overlapping like that,
Right? But at least
great minds think alike.
At least before we got to the whole podcast, we were already on our journey to our get right games. So
yeah,
that's a good thing, I guess.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing. And you know what another good thing is, Craig?
Tip of the episode.
The tip of the episode. The tip of the episode is definitely a good thing. So what is our tip of the episode?
Our tip of the episode is Play the table you're at, not the one you wish you were on. What do I mean by that?
Yes.
Stop playing for fantasy and adjust your reality. Conditions at the table matter. Chris, you've said it on more than one occasion. It's a good rule of thumb to change things if you get burned twice. Don't let someone burn you more than 2 times. I've already told the story of the private table, the 4 PSOs, and making no changes. Like, don't do that. Learn from us. Tip of the episode. I should have played the game. I should have played the table I was at the time and made changes and not wished upon a star that multiple people were going to go on heaters, because it didn't happen.
Yep.
It didn't happen.
The other thing with this too, right, is Fantasyland is one aspect of it. Also, stop wishing you were at a different table, like next to you at the casino, right? You're sitting there and you're at the craps table and you hear cheering from the other craps table, and you're like, well, damn, I should have been on that table. And then you're going to start forcing the table you're on. Don't do that, right? If that table had a win, good for them. That win is already gone and passed, though. All right. So them winning has nothing to do with what you're doing. Stop worrying about what's going on at other tables. I cannot tell you how often when you're playing craps or you're playing blackjack or you're playing any game in the casino, right? And you hear somebody nearby start making noise, right? Or like, I mean, craps is a good example of this, right? You're playing at Harris at AC and you got the fire bet table, the ATS table open, and you're on the fire bet table and you hear cheering from the ATS table. Oh, I should have been on that table because of this, this, and this. It's the first time I cheered in 3 hours. All right. So, like, stop wishing you were on some table at some moment in time. Just play the game that's in front of you. And also, the people who flip flop tables, stop flip flopping tables. All right. You're trying to chase a table. It's not going to work for you. I can promise you that. I've never seen someone chase tables that it's worked out for them. Never does.
The word chase applies to everything. Don't
Yep.
chase girls that don't want you. Don't chase tables. Don't chase your losses. They say you're supposed to chase your dreams, but shouldn't you just have one dream? Why are you chasing multiple dreams? Just one. Have one dream. Dream it out. Dream of your Get Right game.
Full-length episodes on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Short-form content on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed episode 28. I think this was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. I enjoy all of our episodes, though, Craig. So I guess that's, it is what it is.
It's podcast bias. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think so. But again, if we're not enjoying it, how could we do it? Right?
You're right.
But yeah, stay tuned, folks. Again, if you have any comments, ideas you want to see, topics you want to see, guests you want to see, let us know. Send us an email or respond to some of those messages that we've sent out, and you can let us know. And stay tuned for a very, very special guest in episode 30.
All right. Well, while we keep the drinks cold and we keep the drinks coming, your glass may not be full, but you can be full of chips.
On the